I've done the guide a fair few times now, and I thought I'd throw some tips and tricks together for one of Tarkov's hardest tasks, surviving every map in a row for Peacekeepers, the guide. So first and foremost, what is a survive? Well, a survive status is basically needing either 600 XP or 10 minutes within raid. To get 600 XP, we're going to go through a few things here. The first one is every scav gives you 100 XP, and if you headshot that scav, 120. So it's 220 XP per scav headshot. If you take the vest and the gun and then search both of them, you can gain roughly about 125 or higher XP. Which means every scav headshot with a looted bag can equal a survive if he has enough gear on him. So if you don't want to take a risk, however, and avoid a run through, you can actually just kill about 2 scavs with headshots and loot and search them depending, and you'll actually have plenty enough. As for the maps here, let's look at Factory, Customs and Reserve probably being the first 3 maps here in rotation. The reason being that these maps are what I would consider the hardest, and then Labs being the deciding map once you've done the hard maps, and then over to Interchange, Woods, and then Shoreline being last. Now this is my rotation and it is actually up for debate. The reason that it's up for debate is because some people recommend doing Labs last. However, the truth is, I can agree with the fact that every time you buy access cards, it can be quite expensive. However, Labs is one of the hardest maps to survive due to the fact that there are a lot of raiders, very sweaty players, and sometimes computers that play the game for other people. So an example would be, I would like to do the hard maps first and then put Labs in the middle and then put what I would call the large or easier maps at the end. Some tips for Labs, however, is avoid the middle area. Don't be afraid to hit a button and basically just kill the raider and then leave as fast as you can. Factory can be quite a hard map, and this is my first map in the guide. A few tips and tricks, however, make sure you always bring the factory key, and I like to use gate 0 when I do the guide. This is one of the least used exfils on factory. Some other tips and tricks with factory is take your time if you need to. Don't be afraid to basically wait out the spawn fights which always happen. However, basically what you want to be doing is kill 1 or 2 scavs and get out ASAP. I always like to take in the Alton, which is one of the best helmets for doing the guide due to the fact that it's level 5 visor and a really good armor. Usually level 5 plus would be the way to go. With factory, you want to get out as fast as possible before all the player scavs start to come in, because these guys might bring you down. So essentially when you're on factory, what you want to be doing is you want to be getting your scavs and leaving. Because the timer is actually quite low, it doesn't matter how long you're in for the raid, you're actually in the 10-minute threshold. So you basically just want to be killing the scavs and leaving. You can also bring some of your mates and bring up to a 5-man, and you can actually fill the lobby with the possibility of 1 player if you are having a really hard time on this map. The next one here is Customs. I think the golden rule for Customs is avoid this place right here, dorms. You basically want to stay away from this area as much as you can. However, if you do need to come near this area, you can bring money for the VX car exfil, and basically make sure you stay around the outside of the map, and you don't really want to be going towards the hot areas of the map, aka dorms and construction. Essentially, the best way to survive Customs is to basically take your time. You don't really want to rush around this map, and you really want to wait and play it out safely. There can be anyone in any angle, and this can be a nightmare. If you're having a really hard time, however, with Customs, I would recommend night runs. Night runs can actually be a really good idea on this map, and especially in the dark times, about 2 AM in the morning. As for Reserve Base can be an incredibly hard map for some. I think the tip to surviving Reserve is to dominate the Dome. Dome is probably the safest exfil in the game right now, or Cliff Descent. So basically, if you spawn up here, you basically want to hold it. You don't have to use this exfil, but the underground D2 can be quite hot. Train and Hermetic are also quite dangerous, so I think Cliff Descent is the way to go. You basically get to Dome, you can search a few filing cabinets in rooms like RS, SLA, Call or KPRL, and there's plenty of loot, intelligence spawns, and other things around this area. Once again, you don't want to stay around in Reserve too long because this is a player scav heaven. The longer you stay in the raid, the more that will spawn. So essentially the trick to Reserve is to dominate the Dome, search for passive XP, and then get out using Cliff Descent. The next map here is Interchange, and a lot of people struggle with Interchange, but I think the real key here for Interchange is to basically use the fact that it has stashes everywhere. All around the outside of the mall, there are plenty of stashes hidden in various locations, and I can attach a map in the description down below if you want to learn where these are. But these give you an incredible amount of XP, and you actually need about 3 to 4 of them to actually get a survive extract, which is actually pretty cool. So my tips for this map is avoid the inside of the mall, search stashes, and you can kill scavs on the outside. If you want to get out of Interchange, you can use the power exfil VX exit, or you can actually go over to here called Hole in Fence, where you can extract if you do not have a bag. And it doesn't really matter because you're not really doing this for loot, so toss your bag and exfil here. The next map is Woods, and a lot of people have a problem with Woods. This can be a quite difficult map to survive. However, the golden tip for this map is to avoid this area here for multiple reasons, Stürmen being number one of them. Right here where the sniper scav spawns, you can actually see that you can get away from the main logging camp here, and if you bring a paracord and you have the red rebel ice pick, you can head towards cliff descent exfil, and if you're not wearing body armor, you can use this exfil. Once again, I have a video finding the red rebel if you're curious about that. Another great way to survive Woods if you're not confident on this map is once again night raids, especially using thermals, because this is an easy way to find players. Next one here is Shoreline, and the god tip for Shoreline is avoid this place, the resort. The resort is where dreams go to die, and there's a lot of PvP here, so basically you just want to stay away from this area like the plague. Some tips and tricks for Shoreline is to play the coast. Essentially all you need to do is get your 2 scav headshots, and you don't even need to search them. So essentially what you want to be doing is playing the coast, and make sure you bring in a friend. As you can see, I managed to kill a player here on my run through and got my shooter born in heaven headshot at the same time. But basically play the coast. You can go down to the gas station, but you don't actually have to, where you can find some easy scavs. An example would be the power station. You can pop the sniper scav on the roof, and there's usually a few around that area. And then basically after you've done that, you want to get away from those areas as fast as possible. Once again, guys, there is no real safe extract on Shoreline, so just take your time and clean the area out. And now that's it, guys. You're done the guide. If you want some tips and tricks, guys, as always, make sure to like and subscribe, guys. I make plenty of guides, so if you enjoyed this in any single way, it'd really help me out. If you want to make more money off the guide as well, make sure to upgrade your Intel Center to level 3, and you can get up to 28,000 USD.